Hello and welcome to Christian Weather Broadcasting. Today we're going to be doing an Atlantic tropical weather forecast, but before we do, take a look at the gospel message in the description because Jesus can save you from hell. Alrighty, right now you're looking at Tropical Depression 12. Luckily, this storm is not going to be any issue. It will, according to the NHC forecast, become a tropical storm, though only for a short period of time. As you can see, there isn't really deep convection in this system, and it's not looking very well defined, but it is a tropical depression, so we're going to see this form into a tropical storm by tomorrow, and then it's going to dissipate really quickly. But luckily, it's not going to affect any land or anything, so this is really not a big storm to focus on. But the storm that we do need to focus on is disturbance number 1, which has a 70% chance of forming in the next 5 days, and in the next 2 days, which is 48 hours, a medium percent chance at 40%. Um, Alrighty, let's read what the National Hurricane Center has to say about this. East of the Windward Islands, updated. Data from an Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft indicate that the broad area of low pressure located a couple of hundred miles east of the Windward Islands does not have a closed circulation, and the center remains ill-defined. In addition, the associated shower and thunderstorm activity is still displaced to the southeast of the center. Upper-level winds are likely to become more conducive for development, and a tropical depression could form during the next couple of days. If the system stays far enough away from land while moving westward at about 15 miles an hour across the Windward Islands and southeastern Caribbean Sea. Conditions are forecast to become more conducive for development later this week when the system reaches the central and western Caribbean Sea. Regardless of development, heavy rainfall with localized flooding as well as gusty winds are expected over portions of the Windward Islands and northern portions of South America and the ABC Islands during the next couple of days, and interest in those locations should continue to monitor the progress of the system. So that is important to keep an eye on. So for the Windward Islands and ABC Islands and portions of South America, we could see some tropical weather in those areas. Not like a hurricane or a tropical storm or anything like that, but we will likely see rainy, stormy, gusty weather. Not extremely bad, but not pleasant weather. And if you live in those areas, and be careful of flooding because strong rain can cause flooding, but it's not going to be. Don't worry, I'm not trying to scare anybody. It's not going to be major at all for those areas. But once this storm enters into the Caribbean, I think we could see some intensification because in this area there's low wind shear and also high water temperatures. As you can see, where this storm is forecast to go, that's approximately where it's going to go. We're going to see that higher water temperature. If it tracks closer to land, I wouldn't expect it to strengthen until about here, but I do think it'll. Once it gets into that middle part of the Caribbean Sea, I think we'll start to see intensification. And according to some models, we could see a system form out of this. According to the H-Wharf model, we'll get down to about 996 millibars before making landfall. So tropical storm. Um, but according to the H-Wharf model, this is like a worst case scenario model. We could see a very, very major hurricane out of this. The H-Wharf is forecasting this to get down to 948 millibars, which is a really intense hurricane. So that's the two sides of the forecast models. The ECMWF predicting a not very strong storm, where the H-Wharf is predicting a very strong storm. Only time will tell what's going to happen. If this storm does form, it does have a high chance of forming. If it does turn into a tropical depression, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a hurricane due to the conditions in the area. I'm not trying to scare anybody by this. But if it doesn't form, then, well, we're not going to see anything. But don't worry right now. Just keep your eyes, if you live in those areas, on this storm and expect the possibility that it could intensify into something. Of course, we have no idea yet, but we need to keep an eye on this storm. And one last thing, we do have some good news. Luckily, this storm won't be moving up into Florida or the Gulf Coast or anything like that. So, this storm, on its current direction, will likely affect probably Honduras and Nicaragua. Those areas should, I would say, keep an eye on this. And also the areas mentioned by the National Hurricane Center should keep an eye on this.